Hi, Heather, Mahesh, Rich, Tori.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Hi, Judy.
Hey. Molly, hi.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon to all.
Hi. We have about 25 or 30 people registered, so we'll just give it another minute or so. Welcome. Special welcome to Molly and David. We're so pleased to have you speaking.
Hi, thank you.
Happy Veterans Day. Am I on? Hi.
Janet.
How's everybody doing?
Fantastic.
Good.
So Molly, so I saw your name on the list. What are you still active or you're now in school, right?
Yeah. So
you
I am no longer active duty. I served from like 2000 to 2006, but yes, I started a design business after that, and now I am back in school. So
there you go. Now, what are you
And
studying?
working.
I'm sorry.
And working, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and working. It's a lot.
It is a lot. I'm impressed. What's your hopes to study within the BAC? Like, do you have a particular plan? Are you gonna be circling back with
Yeah.
anything
So
around
right now
veterans or
I'm in the
ahead.
second to last semester of my Master's of Architecture. So I am hoping to finish that and then get licensed and become a full-blown, well, my past degree is in interior architecture and design. So I'll have the whole breadth of toolkit to use.
Right? Oh, that's pretty amazing. So what made you decide? I mean, so am I understanding the timeline correctly? You did your undergrad for interiors, then you went into.
No, I started out and actually my undergrad, my first degree was pre-med with the University of Oregon, and I went into ROTC, at which point the Army assigned me to flight school instead of med school, and that started my whole trajectory. So
Really?
yeah.
So were you flying planes, or did you say like, wait a minute, I was hoping to be?
No, I was like, wait a minute, you said I could be a doctor. What's going on? And they're like, well, aviation's really difficult to get. You're like the first woman from the university to be like directly assigned to it. And I was like, well, okay, might be convinced. So
Right.
I ended up going to fly Black Hawk helicopters for the Army for 7 years.
Holy
Well,
crap.
we're honored to have you. at the
Thanks.
BAC
Yeah, I'm honored to
as
be
a
here.
student, so thank you.
Yeah,
I'm going to get things started.
Definitely.
My name is Heather Sullivan, and I serve as Vice President of Institutional Advancement at the BAC. That great pleasure. I'll just ask everyone to mute their Zooms. We are honored to have all of you with us today on Veterans Day, as we take a moment to recognize and pay tribute to those in the BAC community and beyond who have served our great country. We have a special program, and I would now like to introduce you to President Mahesh Das, who will get our ceremony underway. Thank you. President Das.
Thank you, Heather. Appreciate it. And thank you so much for working diligently to make this happen. To all of our staff and faculty and students who have joined us today, welcome to you all. I'm so glad that many of us could get together and on this meaningful day for all veterans all around the world. Let me just take a moment first to thank all the veterans who are with us, and thank you for your service, your bravery, your patriotism, and the commitment to greater good. 3 years ago, I gained a special appreciation of what our service men and women do when I received a 3-day immersive training at Fort Knox under the cadet command of Major General Chris Hughes. So I stayed in the barracks and ate the MREs for lunch, which I'm pretty sure you all fondly remember, and then went through the engagement skills training. So I also learned that the armed forces are one of the biggest partners in the educational mission of our country. So from all of us here at the BAC, we will forever be grateful for what you have done for our country and for being part of the BAC community. We have a wonderful program for all of us today. And first, we are honored to have two veterans speaking with us as we've been getting to know informally. Molly Boudreau, who will be moderating our conversation, and David Wilkins, who will be joining the conversation. We're honored to have them. I'd like to introduce Molly first. Molly and I have had a chance to actually meet up earlier this year, along with the chair of our Board of Trustees, Judy Nitch, and it's been wonderful to get to know her. And she is, of course, our current Master of Architecture student and a proud veteran. When she was 8 years old, she asked for a subscription to Architectural Digest. As she grew older, an ROTC scholarship granted her the opportunity to serve her country as a pilot in the Army, but her love for design never left. So here we have her after receiving her BFA in Interior Architecture and Design from the Academy of Art University, and time to pursue her lifelong goal of becoming a licensed architect now here. By the way, she also started a small studio with an architect mentor in the Boston Cape Cod area. So she does come here time to time, and that is one of those times that I met her earlier in summer. So we are very thrilled to have her with us today. We're also honored to have David Wilkins join us. David Wilkins is a graduate of our Bachelor of Architecture program in 2011 and a Master of Design Studies program in 2013. And he served in the U.S. Navy from 1985 to 89 as an operations specialist, third class aboard the USS Henry B. Wilson, DDG-7 at Naval Station in San Diego, California. He is currently the lead architect at the U.S. Army Systems Soldiers Center in Natick, Massachusetts. David's philanthropic journey started actually while he was in school with us in the MDS program in Sustainable Design curriculum, where he developed a veteran nonprofit business plan for the leading the way to a sustainable community. That business plan became the foundation of David's vision and desire to give back to his fellow veterans. So exactly 4 years ago, November 11th, 2017. So we are, it's a wonderful serendipity that we are celebrating it together, right, David? And the November 11th Foundation was established. It is so meaningful to do that today. I'm so excited by that synchronicity. So this recognized 501c3 organization was founded to provide the services that will give military veterans and their families the means to a healthier and happier life. I want to thank them again for their service and for being with us for the BAC's Veterans Day service. So I now would like to invite Molly to moderate the discussion. Welcome.
Thank you, President Dawes. Hi, I'm Molly Boudreau, and first I want to thank all of my fellow veterans for your service. I'm proud to be part of that community. Just quickly to elaborate on the comments that were already given, I did serve in the Army for 7 years as a Black Hawk pilot. I deployed to Korea with I was supporting the 2nd Infantry Division there. And then I also deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003, right at the onset of that endeavor with the 4th Infantry Division as an air assault helicopter pilot. Also during my service, I had the opportunity to lead the 4th ID's relief effort after Hurricane Katrina. and we would rescue the stranded folks on rooftops and deliver food and water to the people in the Superdome and deliver ballast materials to the levees that were damaged. So I got to participate in a wide spectrum of service. And this was one of the things that in talking to David, that really exemplifies his persona. He's also a person dedicated to service. And I found that to be very intriguing, that he's got such an expansive role in the nonprofit sector. And he really caters and dedicates himself to providing veterans with a better quality of life, using his skills to provide that for our community and others. But I'm sure he'll tell you more about that as we begin the chat. But I'm very pleased to be able to engage with David in some conversation about service, military, and design. So with that being said, David, welcome.
Thank you very much, Molly. I am incredibly honored to be speaking with you guys. And it's very encouraging to me to know that there are so many veterans who are at the BAC program. And again, thank you so much for your service. All of you should be very proud of what you've done to give, to make sure that people around the world are safe, people around the world receive humanitarian aid. And it's just amazing what all of you do. And what you've done in your military service definitely will help you through your BAC program. And I'm sure if you're not aware of it now, you will be. But again, thank you so much for having me here.
David, why don't you begin by telling us a little bit more in detail about your background with the military?
Sure. Well, as mentioned, I joined the United States Navy back in 1985. It was kind of a spur of the moment thing. I always knew I wanted to get into architecture, but at the time I knew I wasn't mature enough or had the financial resources to go to school. And while I was working in a construction trade, unfortunately, I tried to avoid hitting a dog and I rolled my car over. And a friend of mine came home from leave from the Navy and said, "Hey, what are you thinking about doing with your life?" I go, "I don't know. I feel like I'm at a standstill." And he said, "Well, why don't you join the Navy?" And I thought about it for a while. And after doing some research, I think it was a really good opportunity because I thought I'd be able to see a lot of the world doing so. I definitely would become more mature. And I didn't really think about saving money or not at the time, but it just felt at the time the right thing to do. And those aspects were the driving force. But as I gotten older, it just wasn't that. It was just something else that was calling me to do something better. And as I was deployed around the world, I did a couple Westpacks, saw many countries. We did a lot of humanitarian aid to Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and other places. And it really made me grateful how I'm an American and there's so many different countries out there that just don't have what we have here. And from that point, I never took anything for granted. No matter how bad things are going to be here, I didn't have it as bad as people overseas. And I'm sure you saw the same thing, Molly, and other veterans that served overseas. And that just stuck with me, just to try to make the littlest thing better for someone else. And as you go through your life, when you do work on those little things to make something better for somebody, that's how grateful they are. They don't want the big thing, it's the little things that help them.
Indeed. It's really amazing to be able to really come from a different perspective now. You know, you gain all of those experiences that bring a different perspective to your living situation here in the States. So while you were in the service, you were involved with the engineering side of the house. Can you tell me how that sort of transposed into getting involved with design?
Well, yes. So like I said, I've always wanted to be an architect, but I really didn't know what an architect was. And, you know, I kind of wondered how my military experience could transform into that and to make it better. But it's just the whole essence of creating things in architecture and making the quality of life better for other people, whether it's a small addition on somebody's home or a new hospital to help people out. That is the inspiration that still drives me to this day, just creating things that's going to make the quality of life better for other people.
That's awesome. moving forward into your career, can you tell us how you transitioned out of the military and into what you do currently?
So when I left the military, the transition process wasn't as extensive as I'm sure you went through, Molly, because I understand now the military has a big transition process to get people out from the military aspect to the civilian aspect. And for the longest time, I was struggling. I was an area step controller. I was an anti-submarine warfare controller. What tools from that is really going to help me in my design career? And as I gotten older, there's many things from my military service which helps me in my professional career. One of them is leadership. We are trained to be cool, calm, and collected under pressure. The pressures that you guys experience in the military is going to be nothing. I mean, it's going to be more than what you'll ever experience in the professional world. And that cool calmness, when you're doing a deadline, burning the midnight oil, trying to meet a deadline, people are going to notice that from you, and they're going to want you to lead them because of your cool calmness about it. Attention to detail is very important when you're on a firing range. And I'm sure when you were, before you got in your helicopter, there was a series of steps you needed to do to inspect that helicopter to make sure it could fly properly. That attention to detail is going to also apply in your professional career, because when you start designing buildings and get into the construction documents, it's those fine details that are going to ensure that that project is successfully met. And also communication, very important. As you know, in the military, we talked about this, Molly. You receive orders, you translate them, you interpret them, and you pass them on. Now, the design profession is very unique, right? We have a client that comes to us. They verbally tell us what they would like in their designs, and we create graphics to show them. Now we have to take that and put it in the graphics and construction documents so a contractor can read them and build it. So for us to be able to take that communication and translate it into the graphic form is not an easy thing to do, but you guys are already prepared to do that because you've been trained on how to communicate and pass on vital information.
Absolutely. That definitely epitomizes how the experiences that we gain from our training in the military like affect the way that we look at things in our professional careers. You know, like you said, attention to detail, the way you communicate, just taking like a natural leadership role within the whole construction process. So after you worked in the civilian sector, you started to get involved with nonprofit work. Can you tell us a little bit about how that began?
Sure. So like President Mahesh said, you know, it ended up being a business plan of one of my classes in sustainable design. And I've always wanted to give back to my fellow vets. And I've had that inspiration ever since I got home from the military, because the one thing that a lot of the people don't understand is that they think of military, they think of weaponized, we go, you know, wars. But the military does more humanitarian efforts than anybody will ever know, building schools, bringing supplies to everywhere around the world and even at home. And I wanted to do that for my fellow vets because a lot of the people who leave the military, they aren't in any better shape than before they got in. And where I am very grateful to be in a position of success right now, I just felt the need to give back to my vets who don't have it so well. And as my business plan transpired, I remember talking with my wife about it. She goes, "Why don't you do it?" And I said, "Well, I'm nervous." She said, "About what?" I go, I want it to succeed. And she says, "Well, what's success to you?" And I said, "I want to help as many vets as I can." And she said, "As long as you help one vet, you've succeeded." And that has stayed with me to this day. And the November 11 Foundation started in 2017. And Rich Griswold can attest to this. Contacts mean everything, because I have contacts at the Bedford VA Medical Center. I reached out to somebody about my vacant lots and parking spots urban garden program, where I had these custom elevated pods, and we plant vegetables, and they're set up so people with disabilities can use them. I put 20 pods there, and to this day, we've grown over 925 pounds of vegetables, and I've helped 617 veterans to date, from one to that. And it just, it gives words can't express what that means to me, that many vets have fresh vegetable options, and that means the world to me.
That's incredible. It really is. So the parking lot program that you developed in a class in school,
Yes,
eventually became what is reality now, helping people have access to fresh food. That's really incredible. Thank you for doing that, David.
yeah,
So how has this experience impacted your life?
It has impacted my life just in the sense that I know I'm doing good for my fellow vets. And this, also transpired when I was working for an A&E firm where we did a lot of work for VA around the country. And it just seeing those veterans there receiving care. And I always think, what can I do to make things better for them? Whether it's putting in a new sidewalk, making their lives easier because they're stressed out enough having to go for the medical procedure. Last thing they need to worry about, oh my God, am I going to trip or fall when I get there? And just these food options so they don't have to stress out, well, where am I going to eat now? And just the littlest thing that I can do to make things better for these vets, that's what drives me every day in these nonprofits. And even in my current work at the System Soldiers Center, we at the System Soldiers Center, everything that a military person uses, touches, wears, or eats, Natick had something to do with it. And as long as what I do there helps our soldiers come back home safe, that's also the most important thing to me.
Thank you. So you're still currently working at the Soldier Service Center.
Yes.
There's a lot of S's in that.
Yes,
Do you have any plans? I know that in our conversation, you had mentioned that you'd like to end your career working with the military in some capacity. So do you have plans to retire and continue this nonprofit work that you've been doing?
Yes, I plan on continuing the nonprofit and continue to work. My goal was to work with the federal government military, and it started by doing work with the VA. And I do work for the Department of Defense. I am a civil employee of the Department of Defense. And it's really weird because I was an enlisted person when I was in the Navy, but my GS-12 makes me a captain. So it's very weird having people call me sir.
Right?
I'm like, please don't call me sir. But I'm very happy with what I'm doing now. And it just still drives me where I feel I can do more. And I know my wife has to pull the reins on me, easy, but there's just so much for us to give back, whether it's helping a neighbor run an errand or even $1. As what I've learned in nonprofits, every littlest thing helps. It doesn't matter. It's sweat equity, money, any little thing you can do. And believe me, when you go through your career, you'll realize that. And you may seem busy, but the littlest thing helps. And that's very important for our veterans in need.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So I've been monopolizing all of the questions, and I did want to open up the forum to see, I'd love to hear who else is in the group with us right now. Like if there are other veterans, I'd love to open up the forum to see if they've got questions for you as well, David. So is there anyone amongst us that would like to speak or tell us a little about yourself and your journey here to the BAC? Putting on gallery view. I see some familiar faces here. Hello. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and ask some other questions, like on more of a personal note, like as a student. Can you describe what your experience was as, having been in the service and then transitioning to a student at the BAC? Can you kind of talk about your experience at school?
Well, that's kind of interesting. So when I left the service, I was still in San Diego, and I was, like I said, I wanted to be an architect, but I went to ITT Tech through their architectural program to see if this is something I really wanted to do. And I had an instructor who went to the BAC, and he told me a lot about it. I said, God, if I ever move back to Massachusetts, I want to go to the school, because what a unique program. You go to school full time at night, you work during the day. What a better program to set you up for success, because from what I understand through traditional architectural colleges, the graduation rate is kind of low. And once they graduate, the profession isn't what they expected. The BAC sets you up for that. So it wasn't so much of a hard transition because I was sort of fresh out of the military. I understand the rigor and the dedication. I did start in 1993, and though I graduated in 2011, my road was less travel, where if there was an opportunity for me to go somewhere else and work, then I took a leave of absence and did that. I had a mentor when I was younger saying, get as much experience as you can in all building types. So I have experience from, addition of a house to a high-rise building in downtown Boston to many medical facilities around the country. And that really helped me in my career to be more marketable. And I think that was as important. But when I moved back to San Diego in the mid 2000s, I was able to sit for my architectural exam through a state where they allowed you to sit with work experience in lieu of the education. So I did that. And then when the recession hit, I moved back. For me to get reciprocal registration, I had to have the education requirements. So I went back to the BAC. Now, it was very unique because I graduated being licensed already, and some of my instructors weren't licensed. So that was kind of a hard thing to deal with, because all the instructors there, they were great, but I think maybe I might have had a chip on my shoulder a little bit. I don't know. But no, the BAC just widened my knowledge even further. What I've learned there prior to being licensed and after, it's just a plethora of information. I think the great thing is because there's people of many walks of life who teach there and mentor there, and that's what makes that school so special.
Yeah, you mentioned mentorship, and I definitely feel like that is kind of the spirit of our collaboration at the BAC. There's just so many people from different backgrounds, different perspectives, and bringing together that experience creates this sort of bond of mentorship. People across the spectrum are, adding in their thoughts, their ideas, their perspective to help cultivate something that you wouldn't necessarily get in a typical classroom, which I find really, intriguing about our experience here at the BAC. And you did mention mentorship, and I know that you have a desire to continue in that vein. Can you tell us a little bit about how your hopes of becoming more of a mentor in that role?
Yeah, sure. This past Tuesday, led by Heather Sullivan, we had a mentorship meeting. The BAC is kicking off a pilot program. And so I'm going to be one of the 12, I believe there is, Heather, 12 of us. And hopefully some veterans signed up to be part of that mentor program on the student end. And so we're going to be mentors for BAC students to help them not really navigate through the professional side of it, but give them insight of what the expectations are for the profession and how we can help them. We'll be meeting once a month, and I'm not really sure if we'll be able to, but I hope it's open to any time somebody has a question that needs to talk to their mentor. And I think it's very important to get the insight from someone who's been in the profession to someone who's just starting out, because I remember going through, there was a lot of unknowns. Is this the right thing I'm going to do? Oh my God, what am I getting into? And then, the recession hits. It's like, oh my God, am I ever going to work again? And I think someone with experience who's been through it all can help navigate the rough waters, that you'll end up seeing.
Yeah, I think that's a really incredible resource that the BAC is helping to cultivate, because I know for myself, there were so many questions about how do I transition from X to Z, being I want to become a licensed architect. I'm really uncertain on how to get there, especially at this stage in my life. And the BAC was a really perfect conduit to help answer those questions and guide me in the right direction. So I had a thought. My illustrious friend Judy, her husband was in the Coast Guard, and he became very involved with the BAC. I was wondering, Judy, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about how you became involved with the BAC through your husband.
Sure. And I'll start by saying I audited a class at the BAC a year ago, and Molly and I were in the same class, and I was so impressed with her. And I really felt like I didn't belong, because I didn't realize when I signed up it was a master's level course, and I have a bachelor's in civil engineering. So anyway, I was not quite as prepared as everybody else, but thankfully I only audited the class. But my husband graduated from the BAC in architecture in the early 1960s, and his path to the BAC was sort of equally as circuitous as others. He got out of high school, went to Arlington High School, got out of high school, went into the Coast Guard, served a few terms, I believe, and he was just finishing up, and he was working on a project at the Custom House, which is, of course, now is a Marriott timeshare, but at the time it was a military U.S. government facility. He was working in there. One of his higher ups had said, Malyatsi, you ought to check out this school down in the Back Bay. I think it'd be good for you. He had no idea what he wanted to do. His dad was an Italian immigrant, was a stonemason. His uncle was a home builder. So he always grew up working with his father and his uncle in construction. So he went to the BAC. He ended up enrolling there. His first job was working for Jim Ritchie, back when it was Jim Ritchie and Associates, and worked for him for quite a number of years. And then he went to work for Hugh Stubbins, and the Federal Reserve Bank in Boston is what my husband used to call his monument to the world. After finishing the core and shell construction on that, he was the construction administrator during construction. He was hired by the Fed to work for them for 3 years doing construction administration. And that got him off on a career as a construction administrator. And in hindsight, I look back at his career, and I think he would say the same thing if he were still around today. He would say his experiences in high school working for his dad and his uncle, and his experiences with his jobs at the BAC while going to school, and then being a CA for the Federal Reserve Bank, he became a construction administrator, and his claim to fame was that none of his projects had lawsuits, that he knew enough about the design, the construction, and the owner's side that he could say at the end of the project, okay, we owe you this, but you owe us that, you owe us this, we owe you that. And everybody sort of ended up feeling like, okay, they weren't 100% made whole, but they were made whole enough that they weren't going to be irritated and file a lawsuit. And so I look at that and I say, you know, that was a successful career, because you think about all the time and energy and money that was spent on lawsuits with, you know, perceived or actual project problems. And he was able to use his education and his experience to sort of make them disappear. So when my husband passed away in 2012, the BAC reached out to me to join the board. And I couldn't at the time. I was involved in a bunch of other things. But I did end up becoming a trustee in 2016. And I just became chair of the board of trustees in July. I feel I've been a trustee at my alma mater, which is Worcester Polytechnic Institute. I've been a trustee there for over 30 years. And I feel like that experience at WPI has really helped me understand, you know, how can I be a good trustee for the BAC? How can I support Mahesh? How can I support Heather? How can I support our programs, our students? And anyway, so I'm happy that I have a connection with today's program because of my husband. So, and again, thank you, Molly and David, for participating today, but also for your service.
Thank you, Judy. I'm so thrilled that I got to meet you in that class. That was such a fun, we took history of architecture and design together, and it was really fun to be able to banter about one of my favorite subjects. So I see a few familiar faces here, and I thank you for joining us. I think this is really a fun forum to just kind of discuss the veteran connection with the BAC, because I don't think that this is an aspect that's very well recognized, I guess not recognized, but I don't think a lot of people realize that the BAC offers, you know, tuition assistance through the GI Bill. And it was sort of a surprise to me when I was researching, like, where can I go for architecture with the GI Bill? And the BAC came up, and I was like, well, this is excellent. So I wish that more of us were sort of speaking out about, like, hey, you should try this program. And it's perfect for like someone entering into the civilian sector. It's flexible. You meet all these wonderful people, and it's collaborative, and it's online. So you don't have to worry about, you know, commuting to school and everything. It's kind of a perfect scenario, if you ask me. But does anybody else in the forum have any comments about their experiences or questions for David or for any of us?
Just wanted to say, Molly and David, thank you so much. That was so wonderful to learn about your experiences and how they integrate and harmonize with the various paths that you have pursued, and how you're making sense of the whole set of experiences through design. That's fascinating to me, and just cannot wait to see, you know, what extraordinary things come out in the future as well. So would like to thank you both, and thank you all. And
Thank you.
I have to excuse myself for another event, but it has been an honor and a very special moment to be able to come together and honor all of our students who are veterans and alumni and all that. Thank you.
Thank you, President Doss.
Thank you, President Doss. Molly, there's a question for you. I think we all know the answer, but Jen Conlon is saying you have such an impressive resume. Are people awestruck when you share that your experience as a Black Hawk pilot? I know I am. That's from Jen Conlon.
Oh, thank you. It's a interesting icebreaker, actually. Like when I got my last job, I sent my resume in, and the principal like emailed me back that night, and he was like, wait a second, like, let me figure this out real quick. How did you go from Black Hawk pilot to interior design? And it's a very odd combination. I agree, but I do get a lot of wows. You know, being a helicopter pilot was probably the coolest job in the Army, I'll have to admit, but it was I think the idea of like it being such a technical you know, kind of challenging profession, people are, especially architects, they appreciate that, you know, so they're like, wow, this is so cool. So I do get that kind of a lot, which is fun. I love saying that that's my previous work background, you know.
Well-deserved honor.
Yeah, I always say though that you know, if you fail in your job as a helicopter pilot, like that likely results in like probably some sort of death or maiming or something like that. But if you fail in this profession, you know, it's not quite as like intense, you know, like I'm like, oh man, now I'm gonna have to replace that tile, you know. I mean, I'm just like diminishing it a little bit, but I think that perspective, you know, coming into a profession with that kind of perspective is really helpful, you know, because you're like, I can tackle anything if I can tackle that, you know. And I feel like that's something that we all have in common as veterans.
Thank you.
Hi, Davis.
Hi, Molly. That last comment was what I was mulling over how I could make a useful comment. That it affects us all. I mean, this is something that touches everybody. So I grew up 20 minutes from the Coast Guard Academy in Connecticut. It's a Navy town, and my friends would come and go. And Molly and I both live in Oregon now. I was her faculty member for an elective course that I taught in the spring, Play and Health in the Design Environment. Being the Design for Human Health director, I've had multiple students who are people who have been touched by veterans in their life. Or last year we had a graduate who works for the Department of Defense, and she focused on the workspaces of DoD employees and how we could bring on board more salutogenic, biophilic aspects to make the workplace a more supportive place for those who are there, mental health wise, especially. And that's my driving, following the students' lead, but also my own interest is how best can we just keep layering on solutions and healing opportunities for people, veterans especially, who have been through experiences that, you know, are going to bring about some challenges, to put it lightly. So it's great that people are interested in this and working actively on designing for veterans, and they're coming from interior architecture as well as other programs as well. So it's edifying, and I know it's such important work. And for me, growing up not knowing how my future, I mean, I'm a relative of veterans myself. I'm a USAA member, so it's like, all right, by surrogate, I can be there. I can be part of the family. But it's a matter of let's applaud each other, but also how can we make sure we're lifting each other up so that this hard, wicked problem work can be taken into bite-sized chunks and we can manageably move things forward. So I don't know if David or Molly or others have some responses to that idea, especially about how we can help for people's mental health.
Yeah, I think the big thing from my work with VA that they are really making strides to tackle the mental health issue that veterans now have. Unfortunately, back in the Vietnam area, it wasn't really recognized. So it wasn't until, you know, the Gulf War and so on and so forth, where the VA not just took it seriously, but made it a point to help our veterans in that aspect. And what a lot of people don't know, the VA has always been the forerunner in medical care, you know, the research that they do and things like that. So the VA hospitals and outpatient clinics are really making strides, but I totally agree with you. Where I work in Natick, we make a lot of strides to make our work environment an applicable place for either veterans with mental illness and even civilian employees. We hire some civilian employees with different types of disabilities, not just physical, but also mental. And we have a right to do that because where we receive our funding, obviously from federal tax dollars, we open ourselves up to allow people with disabilities the equal opportunities that I would have as well. So as long as we can level the playing field to help everybody, the better world we're going to be.
Absolutely. I also can contribute to that a little bit. I did get an opportunity to work with the VA well after I graduated from design school in the specially adapted housing department. And I was a plans reviewer for soldiers who were quadra or paraplegic that needed renovations to their homes to become more ADA compliant. So it was really, it was so fulfilling to be able to sit and work with veterans through the design of their home, you know, from everything from like, oh, I can't reach my coffee mugs to I want to just roll into my shower, you know, these kind of things that we can bring our special talents to help these veterans. And I was really excited to be able to do that for a short while. My husband was in active duty too, so we moved every 4 years. So every time I had to like move, I had to get a different job. So that was one of my jobs. But I loved it. It was really awesome to be able to help those people that needed it. And it's another thing that you mentioned, Davis, was you know, how our focus on how our design talents and skills can help with soldiers in all capacities as far as like mental health. And it reminded me of, so Scott Eldridge, who I see here on the thing, we're in the thesis research group right now for our curriculum. And one of the students in his section is designing like a soldiers service center for veterans returning from combat. You know, it's sort of like a transition segue from service to civilian life. And she's got a lot of really great ideas around that. So it's really encouraging to me to see that students who may not even be veterans are taking an interest in this and like really finding it as a kind of a niche that it hasn't really been 100% addressed. So it's great to see that awareness.
I want to thank David and Molly again for being with us. Thank you for your service, for speaking with us today. You both are just so impressive. We're honored to count you among our alumni, soon to be alumni for Molly. And Molly, thank you for allowing us to share your story earlier this year. I think last month we did a nice feature on Molly. David, you already mentioned, thank you for joining our mentorship program and supporting our students. So just thank you on many, many fronts, particularly for your service. I do want to ask Rich Griswold, Associate Vice President here at the BAC and Dean of Students and a faculty member. I know both David and Molly recognized the name when we mentioned it, just to offer us some closing remarks for our program.
Thanks, Heather. I think it needs to be said explicitly. The BAC really welcomes veterans to enroll, to take full advantage of the place and become great alums. I think that what I've learned today from David and Molly and is really that there's a kind of intersection of generosity of spirit between the reasons why people make their way through the military and then into public service are very similar to the way I think about the BAC's kind of core mission of accessibility, and now really how the students are so often thinking about making a better world through their work, which I think is what we're kind of talking about today. I am amazed still that a Zoom window like this can feel so connected for me, and that I got to connect with you all. Of course, David and I go way back. Some of you are newer friends, but I'm really grateful that David and Molly participated in this today and that all of the others of us joined in. I think that's just been a fantastic thing. And I do want to say about that welcome that if anyone in the sound of our voices can think of a way that we can make a stronger pipeline or step from the military service into the BAC, I am all ears. Also, from time to time, not so much in COVID times, BAC current students who are veterans or active military get very involved. And I assume that as we get back to normal, that will get back to normal. And I would love to talk to anybody about getting something going here. We've got a lot of creativity here, and we would love to do that kind of thing. I'm very, very motivated by it. So that is a standing offer. Thanks so much. And it is really important that I remember to say, save the date. It'll be December 9th, and it's the BAC Alumni Award Ceremony, which will be honoring 4 alumni that have done outstanding work in our communities. It's going to be virtual, so you already know exactly how to get there. But anyway, I think that's what I have to say. Heather and Isla, thank you so much for putting this together. I've really, really enjoyed it, and I hope to be in touch with all of you moving forward.
Well, thank you so much, Rich.
Thank
And my
you.
wife's not going to want to hear this, but I'll reach out to you about how we can get more veterans in the BAC.
I'm ready. I do a lot of that kind of ambitions kind of stuff. So that's kind of my thing.
He sure does.
And on behalf of the Board of Trustees, thank you all very much for participating today. And thanks, Heather and your team, for putting this on for us. And I appreciate the chance to see Molly and to get to know David. So thank you.
Thank you, Judy, for joining us.
Yeah.
And the Board of Trustees actually sent out under Judy's suggestion and generosity, a nice gift to our.
How can I do this?
Yes, I received it.
I love it.
It's
It's going to be my new camping mug. I love
Great.
those metal mugs.
It wasn't necessary, but thank you very much. It was such a pleasure
Yes,
to be
thank
here
you.
to speak with everybody.
Thank you very, very much, everyone.
Thanks.
Nice to see you all.
You too.
Thank
Have a
you for your
good day.
service. Happy
Bye.
Veterans Day.
Bye-bye.